All right, and we are live. Michael Groselle, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, thanks for being had. Um, dude, okay, so for everyone listening, this is Michael Groselle, Mike Groselle, also known as Big Mike. Mike, why do you have the nickname Big Mike?
I That's a great question. It wasn't
hard,
self-proclaimed. I've
hard-hitting
definitely
questions. Yeah.
I definitely have been it more didn't you think I played basketball in college, you think like maybe that's where it came from? Not really. I
Oh, really?
coached been coaching since college, little girls like 12 through 18,
Uh,
beach volleyball. And they just love calling me Big Mike. And so I was like, yeah, I'm feeling that. We can do that. And so now I write it on everything. I mean, I even got my journal here. It says Big Mike's Journal. I've like adopted it as a personality.
yeah. You're doing daily affirmations in your journal. I am Big Mike. I am Big Mike.
Yeah, like today I wrote down I'm grateful to be big. No, I'm just kidding. I'm
Yeah, yeah.
grateful to be
I'm
Big
grateful to
Mike.
be a Big Mike. I cannot fit in a Yukon. Okay, so as you can probably tell if you're listening, I kind of like Mike. We were college roommates. I'm not going to lie. I'm just going to put that elephant out in this room. We were college roommates because no one cares, but I care because our last names are Griffin and Groselle. And people would come into our room at this military school, the Citadel, where we went and where we were both very proud to be a part of. And they would be like, holy cow, the average height. So I'm like 6'4", I think. 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". Mike's 6'8". So people would come in our room and like, do you remember that, Mike?
Dude, I just remember Will Morrison coming in all the time when we were freshmen, jump out, tuck our chin in, get real tall and straight,
Yeah,
and he'd be like at both of our chests, just like
yeah.
I know you can't, if anyone's listening, but essentially he'd put his nose in our chest, like my how my wife hugs me today. It's just comical.
It was humorous. We respect everyone we just described. We're just saying it's humorous of the height difference. It's pretty ridiculous. um, okay, let's get down to brass tacks. Let's get some real
Yeah,
value bombs in. Um, okay, I want to start with. I want you to complete this sentence for me and then tell us about it. American Ninja.
warrior.
Tell us about that, Mike.
All right, so when I was in high school, I used to always watch the Japanese version that they'd air, and it's normally called Sasuke, but they'd have it on what's it called, G4 TV or something.
Yeah, something
You know
like
what I'm talking?
that. Yeah,
You
yeah,
know that like
G4.
that obscure channel,
Yeah, yeah.
and they would let the Japanese commentators just go off. But it's all these little Asian people hanging, dangling, jumping, running. It was amazing. I think every teenage boy was like, that is the dream.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, being 6'8" at the time, it's not really the dream. And I was going to go play basketball at the Citadel and be roommates with Griffin here. And the second I finished playing in college, I chose not to play basketball anymore and to like dive in to Ninja Warrior. I built a like I hung like a 20-foot rope from a tree in my backyard. I'd climb it a couple days a week. I put a pull up bar. Like I had a whole thing going on.
This is in
Salmon
Plano,
ladders.
right? In
What?
Plano, the house where I stayed in Plano one time.
Yes. And the
That was
HOA
cool.
technically didn't permit it. They have like a strict HOA, and I was just like, we'll just ask for forgiveness.
Yeah, haters
And
gonna hate. Yeah.
my dad's quite the personality, but the whole time we're putting it up, he's like, "You're gonna help me tear this down when we're done." It's like, that's
Yeah,
fine.
Dad. Yeah.
And
Once you fail, you're gonna help me tear this down, just like your dreams. Yeah.
no, but it was fun because it gave me something to do. And like, I worked in engineering. I worked at an 8-5 job, but uh, So during the day, I was a regular human being, and at night, I was a shadow ninja, just going, trying to do pull ups, rock climbing, just anything, just to try it. And I got to get on the show. I got to get on the show, run like the tryout courses 3 times, and one of those times I ate crap and busted my face open and got stitches and was bleeding in the water. It was amazing. It was just absolutely amazing.
On national television, right?
Yes, it was on ABC. They gave me. I got a nice little highlight clip for the ages.
That's so. I want everyone to listening to like realize. I don't want to make light of like it was incredibly difficult what Mike did. Like it took a massive amount of like effort over time, and then he went to like the Olympics of beating your face in, basically. Like
The no, that was definitely key because I probably weighed 230 at the time, which is the guys that win the show weigh 130, like 100, probably 100 pounds more than the guys that win the show.
why? Explain why. What does weight or height have to do with it, and does it make it worse or better? I don't quite.
Being bigger and taller helps when you're trying to like run, jump, grab something far away. But when it comes to like dangling from your fingertips, the longer your fingers are and the more you weigh, it's just physics. There's just more force being applied. Yes.
Right.
Show them your hands.
Yeah, yes. I'm trying to like piece together. That makes sense. So like kind of like with rock climbing, is it better to be kind of like ideally it'd be best to be like thin and lanky and have long fingers, right?
Those guys tend to do like the 5'10" to 6 foot tall dude that's like just wiry, just looks like a alien almost. I was like, look, I'm looking at an alien right now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm an alien.
And those guys tend to do the best in the world. If you're too short, it cuts off too many options. And if you're too tall, you usually end up weighing too much. So it's like just barely above average and tall, but like really thin.
What was your
which I am not thin.
What was your training regimen or schedule like over those months? So maybe what was it kind of within the day at a high level, and then what was it over the months? How did you do that well?
So I trained 5 days a week. And I would do some sort of like cardio 2 of those days. So play basketball. I'd be in a league either on the weekends or like on a Tuesday. I'd be in 2 leagues, and so get like really hard, aggressive like conditioning like that. One of the days a week, I'd like to go to a Ninja Warrior gym and like practice the obstacles themselves. And then 2 of the days, I'd go to the rock climbing gym for like 2 hours, an hour and a half, 2 hours, and just try to keep developing that grip strength because that grip strength takes a very long time to develop. That one's the hardest one.
That's almost like it sounds like that's the bottleneck. It's like you can have a huge bicep or legs, but if your fingers can't grasp, that's the point of failure.
The way the climbing coaches explained it to me, because these are like people who obsess over grip strength, is you can get your forearms stronger, but the actual tendons between your fingers take over 6 months just to start adapting to changes. So if you just go like, you'll get better at climbing because your skill will get stronger, or like your muscles got stronger and your tendons could sustain it. But to like eke out those next steps, it's really, when you think about like in life, it's very easy to get to a certain point, right? With anything you do, you can like learn Word to a certain point. But if you want to be like an expert at Microsoft Word, to eke out that last 10%, that's where all the effort and grinding goes.
I love that. Yeah, I heard something similar the other day. It was like the difference between good and great is like whatever. It's like the smallest final bit, the margin,
it is
the last bit. So,
and I think, and then the difference between great and worldly is even smaller of a visible difference, but significantly more effort.
That Seinfeld had a bit about this in the 90s. He'd be like, you know, the difference between a bronze and a gold medal sprinter, it's that much. That's it. That's the difference. It's there it is. What was it? It's gone. Like that's it. That's the difference between like waking up an extra 4 years early to do stuff is like that's it. That's the difference. So
Uh, and I agree. And when you think, and a lot of people like to point at sports, and sometimes that genetic hurdle, just being predisposed, you're too tall. Like you can be too tall. It can just not be a good fit.
yeah.
You could, and I think it even goes into, this is something I've learned in business lately.
Mm.
I run a small engineering firm, civil engineering firm, and some people are just not the right personality types for the job. I think when you start thinking about these people, they're the people that are miserable at what they're doing usually.
Mm.
Sometimes it's not the culture of the company, they're in the wrong spot.
I totally agree. I think that's like the hidden secret of our age, and something I think our parents sometimes miss is like you're. It's not that you're lazy or whatever, although you could be. People are also super lazy, but it's also that you're just in the wrong thing. You're doing the wrong. Like if you stuck Elon Musk at a kindergarten, he would be a really bad kindergarten teacher. I assume. Like it's just
I,
the wrong. It's you got to play to your strengths, and people spend so much time doing other stuff besides their strengths.
I think that I try to think of even like the personality type versus the job. Like,
Hmm.
an engineer is very similar to a scientist. Like, that
Hmm.
person, if they had gone down that path, they would probably have been fine too because they're problem solvers, they're tinkerers. But
Hmm.
a salesperson trying to be an engineer, it's gonna be awful. They're gonna cut corners. They're gonna do anything to get the job done, and that is
Yeah,
not your engineer.
that is so spot on. I mean, that's even why they said like if you're founding a company, like you have like the visionary and the glue, and that's one person. Then you have the engineer, and then you have the salesman. You need like three kinds of archetypes of
Correct.
dudes. These three very different roles and personalities to kind of make a
The
combined
CIA
pie.
believes you need four people to make a great team,
Oh,
and
dude, tell us about that.
they have stupid acronyms. I don't know why they did this. They named them animals, and the animals are bears,
Love it.
lions. I'm trying not to mess this up. Foxes.
Oh, and
Did I say
hedgehogs.
lions? And I think
Yeah.
it's cheetahs is the last one.
So what is each
You're
one of
like,
those?
okay, so what are
What
they,
is
right?
that?
So the bear is like you're probably close to a bear. You like to connect with people, you like
Yeah.
to interact, create community, bond. Those are probably your salespeople,
Hmm.
or kind of like it could be. The lion, the lion is a planner, someone who likes to plan things. I was like,
Hmm. Kind of okay. Yeah.
I
Odd.
thought that
Go
was
on.
weird.
The lion's a
Uh,
stalker. No, I'm joking. No, I'm
the
joking. Go on.
fox is a creative person that
Hmm.
kind of like, the I don't even the person that's probably doing your brand standards for how your logos and things look.
Yeah. I was gonna think about the irony if you couldn't come. You're like the creative person. He's the person who, and then you not be able to come up with anything because you're
Yeah,
not
like I
creative.
don't know anyone because they're not my friends.
You're like, I don't know. I'm not creative, so I don't know that one.
I don't hire creative people. I hire,
Yeah. Yeah, they're useless. Go to San Francisco. Anyway. All right.
and
Cool.
then the
Great.
cheetahs are doers. They're just people. They're just sprint through. They get shit done, and
Yeah.
they that's their main thing.
Wow. That's straight from the CIA. I've never. That's so interesting. I'm gonna have to like go down a rabbit hole later about that.
It's a super rabbit hole. The CIA. It's like his name's like Adamant Busmasti or
Oh,
something. He's
that guy. Okay,
you should
yeah,
that
dude. I
that
was looking
guy.
him up this week. I was going down a rabbit hole about some stuff with him this week. We are so
He's
similar, or
he's
in the
very
same culture.
I was shocked at the level of how good the CIA actually is at
Hmm.
personality profiling and reverse manipulating people. It's shocking, but
Hmm.
it's the same skills you need for business.
I mean, it's just dealing or being in the world and like knowing how. Yeah, I saw something similar. It was like the people that the CIA tries to like, or whatever intelligence service, I guess, the people they try to go after, like in a foreign country, if you're in like Russia, like who are we going to get to turn on their country? They always go to the sociopathic narcissists because those are the people who are like, Well, of course, the CIA would come to me. Obviously, I'm the one person they would need to like do what they're like. It appeals to their vanity. So they
I
like the
love
CIA knows
that.
to go after like. Of course, this smoke show of a CIA operative is coming to me to help me spill the secret. Like they're good at profiling. Is my point.
You should listen to the 3 different lives. He says everyone lives 3 lives,
Ooh,
and he calls it the public life, your personal life, and your secret life. And you're like, ooh, that's so true. When you start like things like when you meet someone you don't know, how
yeah.
do you act?
Kind
How
of
do you act?
like try to
Yeah.
be like yeah a
Well, you'll
certain way.
fake it. And
Yeah,
he
you try to.
explains it, especially earlier in the day when you have all your energy, it's easy to fake it.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
you go to work, someone says something that pisses you off, you're like, oh, no big deal. I'll just brush it off. They say that to you in the afternoon. Your personality may leak out a little bit. That's when you
Yeah.
lash out at someone.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. God, what was I gonna say? I can't remember, but it's okay, dude. Okay, this is great.
Sorry for going down a rabbit hole,
No,
but
no,
it's
no. I feel like you were going
powerful.
somewhere with that, and then I botched it and interrupted.
We were talking about the difference between good, great, and just all
Oh
world.
yeah, no, I mean, it's fine. This is my podcast. I don't care what we talk. I mean, I just want to talk about cool stuff for people, so it's all good. Dude, the CIA. I was gonna. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Okay, so I like what you said about you were describing your training regimen, and this is
Yeah.
something I didn't pick up on before when I saw you a few years ago. You were doing basketball or playing out in the community doing league sports, but also doing your intense narrow training like rock climbing and working on your finger strength. So like
Yep.
that's not net that's interesting to me because you're doing something general and definitely with people, and then you're also doing something very specific to the actual outcome
Yeah.
that you want. Can you talk to us about that? Where's the wisdom in that?
Well,
Because I think I would naturally be like, okay, well that means 12 hours a day. I'm going to work on finger strength and be super targeted, and maybe some rock climbing and just work out American Ninja Warrior stuff, and I'll only do that. Tell us a better or a whole view.
yeah, I think it's more fun to play a little bit and more
Mm-hmm.
sustainable than to. It's like counterintuitive, and I've been down both. I've been in both
Mm-hmm.
worlds here. I'll explain to you the thought there. I can explain to
Mm-hmm.
you the other side of the equation.
Yeah.
It's fun to go play a little bit. And so if you can mix your goals with playing a little bit, create some overlap, you're probably not going to hate the process as much because it's a
Mm,
lot of effort either way. Um,
yeah.
the other side of the equation is if you truly do want to be all worldly at something, then it's gonna suck. Like there's like that's the thing I think.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing a lot of
That's the
people don't
truth.
understand is like if like you want a beach bod, like a decent, respectable one, it's gonna be hard, but like you could do lots of things to get there. But if you want like a 5% competition shredded body, which I've done that,
Hmm.
it's freaking miserable to get there. And you can't stay there long. And honestly, I don't think it's worth it. It's super superficial, this example. Um,
But I was shredded.
but I was shredded. I
I
was
was
like
shredded.
veins everywhere. You could see everything.
Yeah, all you could see were Mike's ribs and a piece of chicken and broccoli. That was all you could see of Mike's body.
Exactly. And I don't know. Like I didn't that's the hard part. You got to ask yourself what you want to do. I think it's
Mm,
really up to you just got to be real with yourself and part of the reason I wanted to do Ninja Warrior was cuz it was fun. So I wanted to make sure
mhm,
I didn't take that away. I knew that there was like no way I win this show. I just wanted to
mm,
be competitive. So I wanted to be somewhere between good and great,
mhm,
but I knew I couldn't get from great into that like all world. I already knew I was limited. But I made tons of friends at
mm,
basketball, friends at rock climbing, friends at the Ninja Warrior gym. That was super cool because you will not see me out at the club. You just won't. I'm not a super social butterfly. And so it helped fill that void in my life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's different ways to socialize. Yours happens to be an incredibly productive, fun way to socialize with people instead of other people
Very,
who just get drunk and go to clubs and blabber on and on.
I agree. I just never like in college. I went out, did the thing, and I still never understood the point. Even
Yeah.
like then, and now I still really don't understand it. I think people are generally stressed and blowing off steam. So
Yeah.
like they've gotten to this mass point, their stress is filled up, and they just need to let it all out. But what I think most people don't realize is this is you're feeding this loop
Yeah.
that will keep happening. And so until you break that cycle, you'll end up continually getting the same outputs. You'll end up in the same spot over and over.
Dude, I want to speak to this. I think this is so on point. I think it's like when people talk about weed or alcohol or cigarettes or whatever, I just picking those particular ones. Like, I think I watched, what am I trying to say? You may get temporary relief, but the best thing to do would be to go to the source of the problem. Like, if you hate your job and then go drink alcohol to like overdrink, get drunk, like, it's
Yeah.
almost like you need to remove the way that the outlet you have, because it's actually preventing you from making the changes that you need to make. Like, it could be you need to spend a week, research different options, and begin applying to other jobs, for example, or just you need to begin taking other actions besides the one that's de-stressing you. And even I listened to this podcast with Andrew Huberman, and he was like, actually, alcohol and cigarettes, they raise your, like, I think he said like cortisol or whatever your baseline of whatever your stress chemical is, they actually raise it. Even if you have a cigarette or a couple of cigarettes a week or like a couple of beers a week, even that small amount, it raises it. And only when you drink or consume the thing does it temporarily dip, which you perceive as less stress. But actually, it makes you more stressed
Ooh.
usually, and then you temporarily get a relief when you consume the thing, which is
Yeah, I
scary.
love that. I mean, that makes sense.
So you see how people become alcoholics, and like if you speak to an alcoholic, I'm no expert, but I'm just saying when I've spoken with alcoholics, they're like, dude, when I don't drink, I feel super stressed, and I just have to drink just to feel normal. And I'm like, oh, how does that happen? And the explanation that Huberman gives makes sense because they're super
Right.
stressed without the alcohol now, basically. Anyway,
Interesting thing. The difference
yeah.
between a high achiever and an alcoholic is
Ooh.
not much in their personality. It's not very different. It's just the coping mechanism they've chosen to deal with the stress. So an alcoholic is a very addictive person, and so is a high achiever. It's just how they're coming down from that stress. So it's pretty interesting, right? Because you can see someone who's an alcoholic and you can tell like this dude could really be made of something. You're like, you're like, I can tell that they've got it, but they've got this other thing that keeps pulling them down. They are no different, not very different than the other guy that's executing. He gets just the stress. He's got the same personality type, except he deals with his stress in a less destructive way.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. I mean, it's just what are you doing differently? I think most people are gifted or have these abilities and strengths, but they smother them in kind of like these cheap. And I'm by no means immune from this. I too am human, but I'm saying we are good at doing stuff, and then we come up with things that feel good very temporarily and do those instead. Like, oh, instead of painting a painting, I'm going to go get drunk. Like we invent these things to get cheap dopamine instead of the good dopamine from
So
productivity or
I
doing
this is
worthwhile
a
things.
great life hack. This is a life
Okay,
hack here.
give it to
Listen.
us. Yeah.
All right. I write down what like 6 things that are going to move the needle for my business every day
Mm,
that I'm going to do. So I know that it's glaring because the sun's blaring in,
yeah.
but that's only the first part. You've got to pick the hardest tasks to do first in the day because of exactly what you just talked about. You said, well, people want to do the easy things immediately to get that dopamine hit.
Yeah.
You start your day off with those dopamine hits, and then it's like, oh, this thing's going to take me 2 hours to do. You're not going to do it because like you already found
Yeah.
something that rewarded it faster.
Yeah. You know what that's called, Mike? I got this from my mentor. You know what that's called?
What is that called?
ITF. Have you heard of this?
ITF. No.
Okay, important tasks first. You do the
Yes.
most important thing first. Go on. Sorry, go ahead.
That's it. No, that is a super life hack. That I'm, if you've got some majorly crazy project, I think this will help. That helps cut down exactly. It helps cut down the procrastination.
Dude, it
So
totally does.
what's so funny to me is in college, I would not go out at night. I would get up early. I would do all my homework by noon. And I would play video games all afternoon every day.
Yeah.
And what is the average student doing? They're scrambling. It's 5 o'clock on Sunday night. They're coming in and they're like, what the hell? You're playing video games? Like, he must be cheating. He must, like, literally, people were telling me you must be cheating. I was like, no, dude, I did it. I did it at 8 this morning. It's done.
The thing is, you could have, it's so funny. I think knowledge, like something about it, it cannot be transferred through just telling. Cause like you could have told me that at the time, Mike, but I just would not have listened or heard it or felt the urgency. Like, but now I'm living more that way. You know what I mean? Like now as we get older, we test out and learn what works. And so I have
Correct.
my ITFs on a notepad.
Yes.
And wake up at 5 a.m. now, and then I'm so much less stressed than sleeping in, not doing my work, staying up late to figure it. Like it's just different. I think maybe I don't know.
Here's something you hit on, something that I don't have the answer yet, so maybe you do.
Ooh,
hopefully.
go on.
You said I could have told you at that time and it would have gone over your head. And lately I've been looking back at things people have told me. Now, you get a lot of bullshit, right?
Yeah.
You hear a lot of bullshit, but then you look back and you're like, how can those 6 things that I'm now choosing to do that someone told me a year ago, how can I either lower the delta or identify it quicker? Does that make sense?
How do you're asking how do you learn faster from other
how do I
people's
leverage
advice?
their experience and incorporate it into my decision-making process?
I don't have an answer, but I'll have a quick response, which I guess is also called an answer. Here's how I think about it. You decide what you want to do or what's worthy or meaningful for you to do. And then as you're working towards that, you're going to hit problems or challenges or issues or roadblocks, whatever you call it. And then you go search out who has solved that thing. So I don't start with how do I listen to this other person. I start with, and I think you mean this, like, how do I train for American Ninja Warrior? Cool. Who's done this before? Or who's a coach? Or what do I do to find the exact solution to this problem? Or what is already working? That's an external way. Or internally, what is my biggest, what is working really well in my life? How do I do more of that? And then the opposite, what is really negative in my life? And how do I do less of that? For example, what's working well? What's working well is to wake up and do my most important task first. And then at night to eat food with friends and family. I feel like that's all good. What's not working well is drinking alcohol all day. That is not working well. I'm going to cut that back or stop. So
you're taking it as like you need to be kind of assessing your status, asking the question, and then saying, do I need to deviate? Do I need is this meeting our goals? Is this putting us on the track? Sorry, go ahead.
Dude, I think I've been seeing this thing so much lately. I'm like, dude, we kind of know what, as long as we care, we know what we need to do. I know I need to do sales outreach. I know I need to schedule another podcast. I know when I'm wasting time and when I'm working on something based on like a sense. I know when I'm doing the right thing and when I'm doing the wrong thing. So what's stopping us from doing the right thing? It's going after a cheap dopamine. Like, oh, I don't want to do my work. I'm going to look at a YouTube video instead. Like, it's pretty obvious. I don't think billionaires are smarter than us. I think they just figured out what works for them and they're honest with themselves in some narrow thing that does earn a lot of money.
I think billionaires leverage their time better than we do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And this is what you're talking about. I'm saying
Yeah.
if I were to call it one core thing that they're doing, they are leveraging their time and resources consistently more effectively.
Yeah. With one person that I really look up to, they say you should, and it's just different for everybody. People like different things, but I think this applies to a lot of founders of businesses or people starting ventures is like you can learn strategies and you can spend your time, your hours on strategy or on tactics. You can spend your time learning and executing strategy or executing tactics. And you want to move towards there's a need for everything maybe at the beginning, but you want to move towards only understanding strategy and not getting sucked into the weeds of tactics. Like not learning how to reprogram your website for the eighth different technology this year. Like that is you don't want to spend your time learning skills that are not evergreen, that are not valuable and gain it. Like it's worth me to understand how better to communicate with people and to grow my audience, but it's not worth it to me to learn how to carve sandstone. It doesn't.
No, I get it.
It doesn't get better.
So I'll add this. I'm going to add on to what you said.
Please.
Your skills, and I'm regurgitating this straight from
evergreen skills.
So when I love to your skills, period, all skills, grow at a linear rate. Okay? Your business scales at an exponential rate. So your business can actually scale faster than your skills. Knowing that, you should always be learning, and then I'm going to just add yours back in. You should be learning things that are evergreen.
Yeah. I think that's true. Like with my website, if I have an email list that is under monetized, I'll put it mildly. It is not making a lot of money. Really, it makes $0 from a pretty sizable email list. And I'm like, dude, if I just learned the quick couple things, the quick strategies or things to begin monetizing this list, it would just be monetizing itself every day, all day. And that's not a crazy hard thing to do. It just takes a couple hours or several hours over time. And my skill would be, kind of linear, but the result would be a lot.
Exactly.
A lot.
But that's what I'm saying. It can grow. And I'm going to add this onto that and say, you want your base, your giving, you want to be this huge, wide base of giving. I want to give as much away as possible, which is because giving and people perceiving you as valuable without ever having a transaction done with them, you're more likely to sell and sell more to them.
Dude,
so you've got your list. Just start building the base with them. You don't know how to sell them anything.
I know. No, I'm not. I agree. Like I send out emails that I hope are valuable, and I'm trying to ask and learn what's valuable to them. I really have not devoted a lot of time to it to give you context.
What I've recently come across, I live near an Air Force base, so sorry if you can hear this.
I was curious. Out in Colorado, yeah.
I've been changing the way that I write content to not as how to do this. It's how I do it, because everyone has their own box or whatever their needs. Like when you watch a video and you're like, okay, that's pretty close to how I do it, but I'm going to make a couple tweaks. Now it fits my system.
Yeah.
And you're disarming them because they can't take your truth away from you.
Right.
Like, what are they going to say? I ate an avocado. It's not how to eat an avocado. It's how I eat this avocado. I ate it. You can't. I ate
how I cut a mango. The world's slippery.
Exactly. There's so many ways to cut a mango, and so I think that's something too. So I'm just trying to share the recent nuggets.
Dude, I love that, and I think that's valuable from a copywriting standpoint. Like if you write a tweet or something that was how I made $1 million is much more powerful than how to make $1 million. It's like, how did I make $1 million in 16 months? Here are the 5 steps. Like,
because they're going to poke holes in it, right? Let's say your grandma died, you got $30,000. They're going to be like, well, no shit. You made $1 million. You started with 30. Instead, you're just like, this is the journey I went on. My grandma died. I got $30,000. I leveraged it into whatever.
Yeah.
and then now that thing is worth $1 million.
Yeah.
They can't disarm it because that's what you did.
Yeah. They can't rob you of your experience. So,
No.
okay. I feel like we're hitting a stop. Tell us
Yeah,
real
yeah.
quick, what are you working on in terms of engineering? Tell us a little bit about that. What problem are you solving? What's going on with that?
The problem I'm trying to solve, I should have this memorized.
Yeah,
Um,
man. Tell us your
I'm going to
experience.
tell you right now. I wrote this. I've been writing. I'm on my like sixth iteration of our mission statement.
Uh-huh.
I'm just going to read this to you verbatim so that I can. So here's the problem. The problem is the civil engineering industry as a whole is behind the times. Old systems, antiquated processes, inefficiencies everywhere. Projects should not take this long to complete, and they cost more than they should. So my mission is to shorten the project timelines, lower project costs by combining my tried and true technologies, experiences to make my clients happy.
Mm.
I work in a field that is still run by people who are your parents' age. They're the
Oh
major.
my gosh.
Exactly. They're still in charge.
Yeah.
And it's not a like, how would I explain it? It's
There's room
not
for
a like,
improvement.
they don't trend. They don't trend. So like you see how fast some sectors change, like how fast the technology in the healthcare industry can change.
Mhm.
It changes pretty quick. Oh, this new app comes out, they plug that in, boom, they up their sales 10%. Civil engineering, they don't do that. I mean, there are some people that are always demanding to meet me in person when you're in South Carolina, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're in South Carolina, I'm in Colorado. We could be talking about anything. That even that basic thing, they've reverted. So after COVID got over, they all reverted. They all go back to their offices. They're doing their meetings. There are so many things that I've learned how to work asynchronously, like
Mhm.
how to more efficiently work with city staff, like sending them videos. Like I've record videos and send it to
Bunch of
city staff.
looms and stuff.
Yeah, and say
Yeah.
here's the question, you didn't approve this permit. Like here's the question I had about this comment you had. I wanted to make sure I address it correctly, and sending it to him because everyone's like it's so hard to meet with city staff. I think yeah, it is. They're busy just like you. Like they're just as busy as you and me.
Hmm.
And so why not feed them a softball? Why not be the person that's so easy and efficient to work with?
I love that. Yeah, that's instead of blaming them, it's how do I change to make it easier for them, which is probably how we should all operate in this world.
Right?
Like,
Like so I'm a service-based industry, right? So
mm,
I always obsess about how can I make my client's journey better?
mm,
What can we do differently? How can we get that done faster? Can we get it cheaper for them? Can we get it better for them? Is cheaper not necessarily, maybe they need it a little more expensive, but they'll get a
mhm.
better product in the end.
Yeah, it's the job to be
Yeah,
done. What is the job to be done that they
right.
need? And yeah, dude,
Um,
I love that. There's a I follow and like and enjoy the content from this venture capitalist named Joe Lonsdale, and he talks about here's how you be a billionaire: solve a $10 billion problem. And he's like, you know who has lots of $10 billion problems and $100 billion problems? The federal U.S. federal government. He's like, if you can solve as an engineer a problem that costs them $10 billion, you can charge 1 billion, and you are now a billionaire. And I feel like that's a track that you could a train you could hop on. He's like, "What's up?" You look
I'm
up
writing this
problems.
down.
Oh,
This was gold. That is gold.
he's like Medicare fraud that costs the government 200 billion a year. Cool. I came up with a payment system that saves them 200 billion. They're gonna pay me 2 billion, and I'm now $2 billion worth.
Well, that's so
Myself.
interesting. You know why that hits home for me?
Why's that?
That hits really home for me because
Solve big problems, bro.
I think of engineering, like I literally think of civil engineering when I work with a developer. He's making 10x on whatever he pays me. And you just
Mm,
made that statement of like 100, you're 100, 1/100th to 1/10 of
mm,
their whatever their revenue is or whatever they're making, you're going to be
mm,
100th to 1/10.
mm.
And so thinking it backwards like that was really cool. Here I literally wrote it down.
Dude, I love that. Yeah. And the question for you and me is like, dude, solve bigger, especially because our skill, like billionaires just solve bigger problems. They're not like
Yeah.
superhuman. I think they do some stuff really well, especially around dopamine management and then setting things that scale. Like one dude carving wood with his fingers can't make a lot of money, but a dude who knows how to program or hire a programmer to do the 3D printing to carve the wood can scale. So I don't know.
Correct. And that's what we're trying to do here. So as I'm growing my business and we're entering into the $1 million sales revenue range, I am thinking about how, like, this is gonna be a hot sports opinion,
Do it.
hot take. I think a lot of people's jobs are generally worthless, meaning they're not actually providing value that the AI or proper data management can't eliminate. And so, and I don't mean that I want to put these people out of a job. We need to reallocate the resource. I'm trying to set up this super wide base of like, you can reach out to my engineer. They can put you into our CRM.
Mm-hmm.
They can type in a few inputs, get a proposal to you quickly, and get your project going. And throughout that whole process, we can manage the data of like who's spending what hours, like creating Gantt charts, obvious project management tools,
Mm-hmm.
and then looking back at the data and saying, okay, we made enough money, great. How can we make it better? Great. And trying to reduce all those other people that don't, they're not producing anything. Like, I think of
Yeah.
like, if an accountant is just updating your books, well, how do we close that gap? Because uh, if you've ever been in QuickBooks, you can start setting up rules. And so
Yeah.
like things like that. I know that's like a stupid example, but
That's not a stupid example. That's a great example.
like you should, if you're starting a business, you should be I personally think you should be obsessing over how to remove waste from it, because in the next 10 years, things that are wasteful are not going to be, no one's getting paid to do that stuff. Manual labor, that will still be probably valuable. As you're seeing, the robots can do thinking.
Yeah.
You have to be able to prime the robot, have evergreen skills to prime your robots.
Yeah,
Like,
you have to be good at creating prompts. No, I think what you're saying is not stupid because like an entrepreneur or a business founder, whatever you want to call it, they're just someone who instead of being on a couch, sitting on a couch or going to work and just doing what they're told, they see a problem and they want to solve it and they like execute, they try things, they see things could be better and they go after it. So like why would that not apply within the business and outside the business? I'm reading a book right now about information theory, and it basically says like information is surprise, and you get surprised by doing stuff, and you're like, oh, we could save 20% here, we could do this here, and like that's how the Rockefeller, how that dude saved. He brought the price of a barrel of oil down by like 90% or something because he was like he found all these before Rockefeller, oil was shipped in barrels. And he was like, well, if we put it in giant train cars, we'll save money. And that's what's like one of his big ideas. Uh,
exactly. And
so,
that's exactly the problem I'm trying to solve in civil.
dude, one idea for this, what you're describing, like, how do I, here's one idea I heard the other day, and I'm doing this in my own business and in my job, like in all my stuff. Whoever's doing the thing. So if you have a customer service guy, you're like, hey, you have 7 days to replace everything you do with AI. Like you give people a deadline and you go do everything, train the chatbot, learn and do and figure out how to replace yourself in 7 days. And then you don't replace them. You let them learn to leverage the tool so they can do way more, and then you pay them more.
So so there's the problem. I mean, you said it right there. If you think about what is a job, I saw a great post today. It was like, I make people do 15-minute meetings with me instead of an hour. People who are salary tend to schedule hour meetings. Entrepreneurs schedule 15-minute meetings. Why is that? Because salary people are sunk costs. They see it as a sunk cost. So you have to set up your dopamine, your reward system to set it up so it makes sense for them. Like, why would they want to do that? Why would I be more like significantly more efficient? Besides, like, it's obviously better for you as a person. They don't see
Yeah.
that. Um,
No, yeah, you got to tie the incentive. So like, I feel like that's why you pay people by task or you give people equity. Equity is kind of
correct.
another subject, but I mean, you care about your business because you're the owner and you have a sense of like self worth and like, but
Right.
yeah, like
It's my name,
they got
pretty
to be
much.
paid. They got to be paid by getting the job done, and then they'll be excited when these tools come along. You have to like create ownership and incentive for every person. If you pay them just to like by the hour, that people you get what you pay for. So if you pay people by hour, you're going to get hours. If you pay people by task, you'll get tasks.
And so, how can you pay people? The sweet spot I've found is, can I pay you by hours and give you some sort of profit share as a result? That's been the sweet spot of
Okay.
like, I mean, they'll drive the cost because some tasks are harder to, unless you've done it a lot. At least in
Mhm.
my industry, my tasks are similar with a twist. So
Okay.
when I've attempted to go to the lump sum model with contractors and guys I work with, um, it can blow up because then they're like, well, because a lot of engineers think in hours.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, this sucks. And then they start dragging their feet. But if high achievers do, okay, hey, if we come, I'm going to give you 10%, 10% of the profit on this project. I'm just going to give it to you. Not get like, just, you can just have it. He did that. It's phantom stock. They don't actually own the company,
Yeah.
but they get ownership incentives.
Does that? Yeah. How does that work? What are the results from doing that? These project-based profit shares.
It's super helped. It's been
Oh,
crazy.
so it's good.
It's great. Yeah, it has to be the right person because some engineers, there are engineers that just want, they're not really bonus incentivized. They just like doing good work. So
Uh oh.
there are people like that.
Like a
But
perfectionist who doesn't care about costs on the margins. They'll
correct.
just be like, oh, let's take
That's a
more
whole.
time
It's
and more concrete mix to.
but you need these people.
Yeah. Yeah. You probably want the bridge to have enough concrete.
Correct. Anyway,
All right.
I think we've gone over a little bit. And
Yes. Yes. All right. Mike Groselle, thank you so much for coming on. What is the name of your company or how can people reach you?
yeah, my engineering company, Modern Engineering Solutions. You can find me probably mod-eng.com. Mod-eng, and yeah, just fill out contact form if you I've got a if you're an engineer that has an interesting story to tell. I've got a live show that I do. It's called Engineers for Communities. I love to share people's great ideas and how they're making an impact in the engineering community.
Love it, dude. Love it. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Mike. You the man. And
All right.
modern engineering
Yes,
solutions.com.
sir.
Cool. All right. Thanks, buddy. Bye.
All right. Thank you. Bye.